The march towards liberty starts right now. This is Freedom Watch. And I'm Tom Sullivan filling in for the judge. The judge returns on Monday. But tonight on the docket, there are several debt deals in the works. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell's Plan B, the Gang of Six's recent proposal, and the President and Speaker Boehner's supposedly $3 trillion plan with a promise of tax reform at a later date. But is it even in America's interest to pass a deal? More on that later in the show. First, we turn to the man who co-sponsored the Tea Party-backed Cut, Cap, and Balance bill, which the Senate decided to not even bother to take up today. That happened earlier today, but essentially that kills the bill. If there's no future for Cut, Cap, and Balance, what's next? Congressman Tim Huelskamp joins us now. Welcome to Freedom Watch, Mr. Congressman. And what is Plan B now that the Senate has said no to your deal?
Well, what has happened in the Senate is Senator Reid refuses to allow a vote. This was a procedural motion, and I think it's time for Harry Reid and the rest of the Democrats to man up and present a plan. The same thing with the president. They have no written, detailed plan. There's only one plan on the table that cuts the budget and proposes a balance amendment and solves our problem. That's cut, cap, and balance. And what's frustrating for a freshman is these folks that run around, have press conferences, but will not man up for a vote that two-thirds of the American people want, and that includes a balanced budget amendment.
All right, so everybody's playing the blame game, but in essence, since they don't have a plan, especially the president doesn't have a plan that's written out about I want this, I want that, aren't you basically forced into the corner of negotiating with yourself?
Well, that's where some folks would like us, especially the president. But again, Harry Reid and the president, they have no plan. We're drifting towards August 2nd. That's this artificial deadline the Treasury Secretary and President Obama created. I think it's very artificial. I think it has something to do with the birthday party the next day. But the real deadline, are we going to balance the budget? We're going to do it now. The credit rating agencies don't say you just have to raise the debt ceiling. You have to have progress to solving our long-term overspending problem. And we're going to continue to focus on cut, cap, and balance. The pressure is increasing, which is why Harry Reid rushed to table this, because he's afraid that if American people speak and they get heard, we'll get this thing passed.
Well, Congressman, this is, I like to break these things down and make them really simple. If a lot of us have bought a home in the past, and what you do is you make an offer, and then you wait for the counteroffer. In this particular case, you didn't get a counteroffer. So now you have to come back with something different. What's different? What's another Plan B that you can come back with?
Well, I don't think it's necessary to come back with anything. I think the president's bluffing. I think Harry Reid is bluffing. They're certainly not doing their job. It's time to man up. And I think this House is the only place in town that's done a job. It's amazing. I don't want to be partisan about it, but there's not a single Democrat in Washington, D.C. that's outlined a written, detailed plan that'll solve this problem. They haven't had a vote on anything, and they're not intending to have a vote. I think the American people are demanding Harry Reid man up and come up and have an up or down debate and vote on the plan. There are dozens of U.S. senators ready right now to debate the plan, debate the history of this country and the future as we're going ahead on spending and overspending. But Harry Reid refuses and just sits back and tells the American people, we're not going to touch that debate.
So are you saying at this point you're just going to stay where you are, you've passed the cut, cap, and balance, and you're just going to wait it out until somebody on the other side gives you some plan back?
Well, I think over the weekend, Senator Reid said they were going to work hard over the weekend. They went in. He wouldn't allow a debate. Again, this is a choice of the Senate and the president. They are afraid cut, cap, and balance is gaining momentum, and they are right. Give the American people a weekend. Turn open the phone lines. That's why the senators are going home, because they don't want to have to feel the heat of phone calls into Washington, D.C. If Americans get their way, I'm very confident cut, cap, and balance will be the law of the land.
What do you hear about them going home? Are we going to have any meetings with them in there? Are we going to have some of the town halls that we had maybe a couple of summers ago?
Well, that would be nice. I don't know if they have anything scheduled. That's one thing. Senator Reid says, we're going to work all weekend, and they cancel all of the meetings, and he changes the schedule. I think they might be afraid of the American people. And I would be afraid if I had no plan, and if you're the president and Harry Reid that says financial Armageddon will hit unless we do something on August 2nd, and you're sitting here as the president of the largest, greatest country in the world, and you have no plan to deal with a huge predictable financial disaster, I'd be afraid to have a town hall. President won't have it, and I'd be afraid if I was Harry Reid, but we'll see if they have the courage to go out and talk to the people they work for.
Well, we wish you well. Thank you for having the spine to sit there and say, listen, we gave you a plan, give me one back. And Congressman Tim Huelskamp, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
You bet.